This is an instructional sewing video for both the gathered skirt pattern and simple summer fashion dress in the 2013 June-July issue of Kiki magazine. Hopefully you have already read that issue and made your patterns so you are ready to sew along with this video. If not, grab that issue of Kiki and get patterning. Here are the supplies you will need to make your skirt and/or dress. 1 yard of wide elastic, 2 to 4 inches wide. Double folded bias tape, the same color as your elastic. Enough fabric for your 2 pattern pieces to be cut on the fold. Around 2 yards should be plenty. Thread, close in color to your fabric. A sewing machine, scissors, a lot of sewing pins. And for the dress only, you will need 3 yards of ribbon. Sometimes sewing projects can be overwhelming, so we are going to break this project down into steps. When you see this picture of Mowgli pop up on the screen, that's a good time for you to pause this video and do the step we just covered on your own at home. When you are ready, you can come back to the video for the next step. First, you will need to fold your fabric in half and line the flat edge of your pattern with the fold of your fabric. Then, pin the pattern to the fabric with the pins going in the same direction as the paper. It is best to lay out and pin all your pattern pieces at the same time so you can be sure you have enough fabric. For the dress and the skirt, both the front and back pieces need to be cut on the fold. When both pieces are pinned down, cut them out. This is what my dress pattern pieces look like cut out. Once you have cut out your patterns, take the pins out and unfold the fabric. Each fabric piece should now look like a double version of the original pattern. Pause, your turn, do this much at home. Now, lay the front and back pieces of fabric on top of each other. Pin them together on the sides. Make sure the front of the fabric from both pieces are touching and the back of the fabric is on the outside. This time, put the pins in the fabric perpendicular to the side edges, about every 2 inches down both sides. If you are unsure, the sides for the skirt pieces are shorter than the top and bottom. For the dress, it is the opposite. If you are making the dress, this will be the only major difference from the skirt. Cut your 3 yards into 2 pieces that are each 1.5 yards. Then fold each piece in half and make a crease line with your fingernail. Put half of the ribbon up to the crease line in between the 2 fabric pieces, about a foot down from the top, and let the other half of the ribbon hang out. When you are pinning your dress pieces together, pin the ribbon in place too. Do this to both sides. Now, sew a straight line over your pins about a 1/2 inch in from the edge of your fabric. Don't forget to back tack at the beginning and end of your line. You can watch my sewing here as an example. Repeat this step on the other side so that both sides are sewn and you have a tube of fabric. You should go at whatever sewing speed you are comfortable with. And don't worry if you make a mistake. That's how you learn. Just grab a seam ripper, rip the stitch out, and try again. Pause, your turn, do this much at home. Now, get your wide elastic. If you are making the dress, you will need to wrap your elastic just under your armpits. If you are doing the skirt, wrap the elastic around your waist. In this illustration example, the pink represents the dress and the purple represents the skirt. Wrap the elastic around snugly, but still comfortably, and then cut the elastic to that fit. Next, pin the edges of the elastic together and sew a straight line a 1/2 inch away from the edge, just like you did before. Make sure you back tack at the beginning and end of your line. You can watch my sewing as an example. Pause, your turn, do this much at home. Now, grab your double folded bias tape. Open it once so that the folded raw edges of the tape are inside towards the first fold. Fold and pin this tape all the way around the bottom of your skirt or dress. The bottom is wider than the top. Fold it so that the edge of the fabric is touching the fold of the bias tape. Put the pins perpendicular to the tape. Overlap the tape about an inch when you come all the way around, and tuck under the overlap a ½ inch so there are no exposed edges. Put a pin to secure the folded overlap in place. Then, preferably using a thread color that is the same color as your bias tape, sew a straight line all the way around in the middle of your tape. You can watch my sewing as an example. Note, some bias tapes come in a larger size. It may be easier to work with that larger size if you can find it. Pause, your turn, do this much at home. This part will be the most time-consuming. Did you notice that the top of the skirt is much larger than the elastic waistband? Well, we are going to make them fit by gathering the fabric into the waistband. First, make sure your skirt is inside out. You will be pinning the front side of your elastic to the front side of your skirt. Decide what the center back of your skirt is and pin the seam or the edges that you sewed together of your elastic to your decided center back. Make sure the extra pieces from the seam of that elastic are not touching the front of the fabric of your skirt. Then, pin the opposite side of your elastic band to where your center front of your skirt would be. So now you should just have 2 parts of the skirt pinned to 2 parts of the elastic band. Pause, your turn. Do this much at home. Now you should have 2 elastic areas that are in between the 2 pinned spots. Fold one of the elastic areas between the 2 pins and crease the fold with your fingernail. Then fold the fabric in half that is in front of that elastic area and crease that with your fingernail also. Pin those 2 creases together. Then do this with the other elastic area. Now you should have 4 places pinned. Pause, your turn. Do this much at home. Now you should have 4 elastic areas and 4 fabric areas across from them. The fabric areas are always going to be larger than the elastic ones. Again, fold an elastic area in half and crease with your fingernail. Fold the fabric across from it in half and again crease with your fingernail. Then pin those creases together. Repeat this for all 4 elastic areas, and then you will have 8 pinned areas total. Pause, your turn, do this much at home. Now, you will have 8 elastic areas and 8 fabric areas across from them. You will continue the process of matching the half point of the elastic areas with the half point of the fabric areas across from them and pinning them in place until as much of the fabric is pinned to the elastic as possible. These don't have to be perfectly spaced, but you do want to keep the pins as straight as possible so you don't break a sewing machine needle when you sew over them. You may want to continue to watch me pin so that you can get a good idea of what this process looks like, and then do it on your own at home. Pause, your turn, do this much at home. When you are finished pinning, you will sew a zigzag stitch a ½ inch away from the edge, all the way around the gathered fabric pinned to the elastic. The zigzag stitch will let the gathered fabric stretch with the elastic. You will also want to use the largest stitch size your machine has. You may want to look at your machine's manual if you are not sure how to change this. If your machine has a zigzag stitch that appears to have triple lines, that is the best stitch to use. It is very strong. If not, a regular zigzag stitch would still work fine. This video clip shows me pointing to the example zigzag stitch and the large stitch size on the machine I am using. Pause, take a second to set up your machine at home. Now, carefully sew your zigzag stitch over the folds of fabric like you would a regular seam. You could flip it over and sew on the elastic side if that is easier. As usual, don't forget to back tack at the beginning and the end. You can see here how the zigzag stitch really allows for the fabric to stretch with the elastic. Here is a close-up of what this stitch should look like when you're finished. Now flip up your waistband and flip your skirt right side out. The last thing you need to do is do a small zigzag stitch over the top of the seam you sewed in the elastic earlier. This will secure the elastic when it stretches. Even though it is small, you will still want to back tack at the beginning and end. This is what the skirt should look like when you are finished. And here are some examples of different ways you could wear your dress. I challenge you to find even more unique ways to wear this dress through styling and accessories. How many different ways can you wear this project? When you are finished with your projects, you can send images to us through email at submissions@kikimag.com. Thanks for watching, good luck on your projects, and have a great day.
The end.